Commander Mara Vance was reviewing sensor logs aboard Atlas Spear when the alert pinged, a priority-class anomaly flagged by the ship's signal intelligence array. The console's soft chime belied its weight. "Playback," she said. A burst of distorted static filled the comms bay, laced with irregular pulses. Beneath the fuzz, a human voice emerged, frayed and breathless, barely coherent. "This is Sergeant Cole, 3rd Marine Detachment. We are detained under Accord Article 7. Repeat, prisoners of..." Then came silence. Not the silence of static, but deliberate, layered silence, like something had been scrubbed. Seconds later, a cold, alien voice cut through, unhurried and precise. "Unit marked for finalization. Proceed." 7 distinct sounds followed. Not a firefight. Not panic. Just methodical execution. Mara leaned in. "Run audio spectral analysis. Break down cadence and spacing." The technician hesitated, eyes wide. "Ma'am, this isn't battle audio." "I know," she replied, eyes narrowing. "It's a schedule." Mara walked into the fleet operations briefing with her jaw set, eyes unreadable. Admiral Jonas Havel glanced up, sensing her urgency. Seated beside him, Colonel Ishan Reyes looked ready to erupt. The room carried tension like oil over fire. "We intercepted a burst transmission," Mara began without preamble. "It originated in the Ash Belt. Human POWs, held under Concord Accord protections, executed in sequence." She paused, letting that word hang. "Executed. Evidence?" Reyes demanded. "A cleaned-up audio sample with clear command phrasing, followed by 7 gunshots, each spaced exactly 4.2 seconds apart. We've run voiceprint comparisons. It matches Varick linguistic structures, specifically, their penal enforcer caste." Reyes slammed a fist on the table. "Then we hit them. Send in everything. We burn that barge to slag. We do that without irrefutable evidence," Mara warned. "And the Concord will frame us as aggressors. They're already suspicious of our emotional volatility." Havel steepled his fingers. "How certain are you?" "We triangulated the signal to the Oath Chain, a Varick detention barge. We've got black box echoes from nearby civilian freighters. And the final signature used a human legal designation, Protected Detainment Class Alpha. That phrase only exists in our charter." "So it's them," Havel said quietly. "It's them," Mara confirmed. "And it was on purpose." Later, Mara stood in the memorial bay, silent, sterile, lit by the gentle pulse of the ship's artificial dusk. A long steel chain hung along the wall, dog tags glinting in its light. Each tag held a name. Some names were known. Others were still missing. A chaplain read names slowly. No hymns. Just a list. Wen Quan, Sarah. Lieutenant was read aloud. Mara didn't flinch. But her hand curled slowly into a fist. They trained together. Ate from the same ration packs in zero-G drills. Argued over chess moves. Now her name hung cold and unanswered. A pilot beside her slid a new tag onto the chain. It made a soft metal-on-metal sound. Reverent. Final. Mara turned and left without a word. Back in the signal lab, her team worked in tense silence. Data scrolled across holoscreens, heat signatures, trajectory traces, echo patterns from nearby comm relays. "We've matched the timestamp of the executions with the Oath Chain's recorded movements," her analyst said. "It held position for 7 minutes. That's not drift, it's staging." Another tech spoke up. "Ma'am, we ran frequency mapping. The command phrase, cleansing of weakness, is a known Varick doctrine term. It's ritualistic." "Ritualistic?" she echoed, voice low. "It's used in their initiation rites. Symbolic removal of the unworthy." Mara exhaled slowly. "So they didn't break protocol in a panic. They sent a message." "More than that," the analyst added. "They filmed it." Mara opened a secure Concord channel. The face that blinked into view belonged to Envoy Calvis, a thin, iridescent-skinned bureaucrat of the Concord of 9. His tone was measured, almost bored. I've reviewed your request for a preliminary hearing. As always, we appreciate humanity's dedication to legal structure. They executed POWs, Mara said bluntly. Not during conflict. After detainment. Under formal protection codes. Caldas blinked slowly. That's a serious accusation. Are you certain the footage or audio logs weren't emotional reconstructions? Your species has a tendency to. You'll receive all data logs, verified black box echoes, and cross-species witness testimony within the hour. Even so, Caldas replied, the Concord will require a neutral investigative window. Perhaps 17 cycles for full tribunal review. 17 cycles? Mara snapped. They'll wipe every trace by then. If evidence is as strong as you claim, surely it will persist. The feed closed. Mara stared at the blank screen. They don't want proof. They want delay. Hours later, a burst ping hit the emergency channel again. Comms snapped to life. Commander, a tech called Urgency Sharp. We've just received a new signal. Human-coded. Authenticated. Mara was already moving. Put it through. The message was short. Fragmented. But unmistakable. Atlas Spear, alive, they filmed, they want you to see. A coordinate flickered on screen, distorted, but locatable. Near the Oath Chain's previous route. A whisper in the void. One voice still breathing. Mara straightened. Admiral Havel. We have a live signal. Survivor. The Admiral's voice crackled through. Then prepare a recovery team. We bring them home. And if that barge holds the evidence, we bring the truth. Mara finished. Her eyes locked on the console. They wanted us to see. Now they will. The boarding plan arrived like a scalpel, narrow, precise, and dangerous for anyone who mistook silence for safety. In the tactical bay, Admiral Havel stood before a hollow of the Varik detention barge. Oath Chain hung in the projection like a coffin made of metal and doctrine. Angular hull, layered armor ribs, docking spines that looked less like ports and more like hooks. Our objective is extraction, Havel said. Survivors and evidence. No fleet engagement unless unavoidable. Colonel Reyes leaned forward, hands flat on the table. His eyes looked carved out of sleeplessness. If we run into the execution team, we don't take revenge. Havel cut in. We take proof. Reyes' jaw flexed. He didn't argue. Not because he agreed, Mara thought, but because he was building a separate storm inside his chest. Mara tapped the console, highlighting the route. We approach through the ash belt. Debris gives us cover. Comms discipline is absolute. The barge runs doctrine-based sensor sweeps, predictable intervals. We can slip between. A lieutenant asked. And if they spot us? Mara looked at him. Then they've been waiting. The insertion craft, a matte black capsule barely larger than a cargo container, drifted into the ash belt like a thought you didn't want to have. Outside the hull, shattered plates and frozen spirals of slag floated in slow spirals, remnants of earlier battles, warnings left without words. Mara sat strapped into the command seat, headset pressed tight. Her feed showed the boarding team in dim red light, 8 Marines in magnetic boots, helmets sealed, rifles slung low to avoid glare. Reyes had insisted on leading the strike element himself. Havel had allowed it after a long, private exchange that Mara hadn't been invited to. Reyes' voice came through in a whisper. Quiet hands, quiet hearts. We bring our people back. One of the Marines, call sign Juno, clicked once in acknowledgement, a soft metallic sound on the comm. Mara watched sensor arcs crawl across her display. The barge was ahead, a dark bulk against stardust, its running lights barely visible, like it didn't need to announce itself. Varik didn't posture for the void. They assumed the void already belonged to them. A proximity ping blinked. Too close. Mara held her breath. Patrol craft at 11 o'clock. They're sweeping the belt edge. Reyes didn't ask what to do. He just waited. Mara spoke calmly, because calm was a tool. Cut thrusters. Let the debris field carry us. We become another piece of wreckage. The insertion craft went dead still. The patrol slid past, lights tasting the darkness. For 3 long seconds, a sensor beam skimmed their hull. It moved on. Only then did Mara exhale. Proceed. The oath chain filled the forward screen. Its plating had a sterile sheen, reflective in a way that made it look polished rather than scarred. That disturbed Mara more than battle damage would have. Docking spine 3 is least monitored, she told Reyes. Varric favor symmetry. Their blind spots are predictable. Copy, Reyes murmured. Breach in 30. A hiss as the cutter engaged. No sparks. Human engineering had learned long ago that light was a confession in space. The hull gave way with a soft, reluctant sound. A circular plate folded inward, and cold, recycled air spilled out. The Marines entered. Mara's display divided into helmet feeds. Corridor walls were pale, smooth, almost clinical. The lighting didn't flicker. No alarms. No rushing footsteps. It felt wrong, like walking into a room that had already decided what would happen inside it. Juno's voice. No resistance. No internal chatter. Too clean, Reyes replied. Stay alert. They moved in tight formation, magnetic booths ticking softly. Mara tracked their progress using the ship's internal structural schematics, overlaid on their live feeds. She felt her own pulse steady, not from confidence, but from necessity. Panic was expensive. They passed a transparent panel that revealed a holding cell. Empty. The floor had faint scuff marks, knees maybe. A drainage seam ran along one edge, freshly polished. Juno stopped. Ma'am, there's a smell. Mara leaned closer to the screen. The Marine's camera angled down. A faint reddish discoloration clung near the baseboard, diluted but present. Blood cleaned badly always tried to confess. Mara's voice stayed controlled. Mark it. Keep moving. Rhea's breath sounded heavy in his mic. This is processing, he said, and the word came out like a curse. They reached a chamber with equipment arranged in tidy lines, restraint bands, a mounting rig, lens arrays folded into the ceiling like insect eyes. On the far wall hung a plaque in Varric script. Mara's translator rendered it, Discipline is mercy. The irony hit like a punch. Rhea's voice turned sharp. Data core? Juno crossed to a console. Found. Locked. Mara's fingers flew over her interface, pushing a cracking program through the Marine's uplink. Injecting override. Give it 10 seconds. A second Marine, call sign Brick, swept the room. His flashlight beam caught a thin groove on the floor, straight line, exactly centered, too even to be random. Ma'am, Brick said quietly. They lined them up here. Mara's throat tightened. Don't imagine. Confirm. Brick swallowed. Confirmed. The data core chirped. Juno pulled it free and secured it in a sealed pouch. We have it. Reyes moved toward the far bulkhead where the wall seemed slightly misaligned. He pressed his gauntlet against the panel. It flexed. Hidden space, he muttered. Breach. The panel came loose, revealing darkness and a cramped cavity behind it. Something inside shifted. A voice, cracked and small, leaked out. Human. Reyes froze, then reached in gently. Yeah. Human. They pulled him out carefully, thin, trembling, eyes sunken but focused. His uniform was torn. His wrist had raw rings where restraints had bitten. He blinked at the helmet visors like he couldn't believe faces were allowed to exist again. Mara opened a private channel. Name? The man swallowed. Corporal Emile Park. 26. 3rd Detachment. Rhea's voice softened, just a fraction. You're safe now, Emile. Emile's laugh was almost silent. Safe. Right. Mara said. Emile, we need you to speak clearly. You sent the burst? He nodded once. I hid the transmitter. They missed it. Why didn't they kill you? Mara asked, hating herself for the question and needing it anyway. Emile's eyes sharpened. They wanted a witness. Not a survivor. A witness they could control. Reyes went still. What did they do? Emil's stare drifted past them, into memory. They read our names. Like a roster. Then they shot us in order. No shouting. No chaos. Just procedure. And they filmed it. For you. Mara's chest tightened until breathing felt like pushing against the door. Who gave the order? Emil's voice lowered. Legate Con Rex. He spoke before it started. Reyes' hands clenched. What did he say? Emil blinked slowly. He said surrender doesn't earn mercy. It proves weakness. Then he told them to cleanse it. Mara activated the testimony recorder, biometrics syncing to Emil's pulse and ocular response. Corporal Park, I'm recording this for tribunal. Tell me what you saw. Only what you saw. Emil nodded. I saw them kneel. I saw the barrel touch the back of Cole's head. I saw the first shot. Then the next. And the next. And the camera didn't shake once. The alarm didn't blare. It chimed, polite, restrained. Like the ship was announcing a scheduled appointment. Mara's display flashed red. Motion signatures converging. They're responding too fast. Corporal Emil Park's voice cut through the silence like a blade. They didn't kill us to win a battle. They killed us to win a message. Commander Mara Vance sat opposite him in the medical bay, hands folded over a data slate. Emil's arm was sleeved in Regan wraps, face hollowed from starvation and sedatives, but his gaze never wavered. They read our names off a list, he said again, quieter. One by one. They weren't angry. Just organized. Mara nodded once, activating the recorder. Testimony is now live. This will be submitted to the Concord Tribunal and stored in EarthGov archives. Good, Emil said, voice flat. Some of them deserve to be remembered. Others deserve to be heard screaming. The tribunal call began with a delay. Not technical, diplomatic. That was how the Concord punished urgency. A shimmering alien face appeared on Mara's display, blue-hued and calm, Enva Calvis. Behind him, the white chamber of the Oversight Committee floated in minimalist perfection. Commander Vance, Calvis began. We acknowledge receipt of your transmission. You've submitted a compelling collection of fragments. Yet, we must maintain impartiality. Further validation is required before. They filmed the executions. Mara cut in. We recovered the footage. We have black box confirmation. We have a survivor. What else do you require? Calvis blinked with deliberate patience. A neutral inspection team. Concord Protocol demands we verify chain of custody, origin signatures, and metadata integrity. A tribunal hearing will be scheduled in 17 cycles. 17 cycles? Mara echoed. By then the Varik will have erased every trace. If the evidence is genuine, Commander, it will survive. A second screen flared to life. The Varik envoy appeared, tall, bone-plated, flanked by ceremonial guards. His voice had no warmth, only gravity. These claims are slanderous. The human prisoners attempted escape. The Varik responded with standard suppression protocols. Mara leaned forward. There were no weapons found. No forced entry. No defensive wounds. Just lined-up bodies shot from behind. The Varik envoy's eyes narrowed. Your species feasts on drama. You confuse emotion for evidence. No, Mara said quietly. We give emotion names. That's the difference. The tribunal channel closed. In Atlas Spear's war room, tension brewed beneath the silence. Admiral Havel reviewed the footage on a secure loop. No one spoke during the playback. At the final shot, Havel pressed pause. Colonel Reyes, seated at the edge of the table, didn't look away. They executed soldiers who surrendered under Concord law. In uniform. Unarmed. Deliberately. Confirmed, Mara said. They're daring us to respond, Reyes muttered. Mara turned toward him. That's the trap. If we respond without structure, we become what they want the galaxy to fear. They filmed it. Reyes repeated. For us. You think this is about legality? It's ritual humiliation. They want us to lose control, she said. Not just of our temper. Of our identity. Reyes stood. And if the law won't act, Commander? Mara didn't flinch. Then we make it act. 2 hours later, the first wave of unease rippled through the fleet. In the barracks, in mess halls, in the maintenance decks, everywhere humans gathered, the footage surfaced. Not through official channels, but through whispers. Someone had leaked a still frame. Kneeling Marines. A Varick officer aiming. The timestamp burned into the corner. No screams followed. No shouts for war. Just silence. The kind that stretched. The kind that filled with purpose. In the tactical core, Admiral Havel faced Mara and Reyes with a new transmission open behind him, an encrypted directive from EarthGov. Final approval has been granted, he said. If the Concorde refuses to escalate, we proceed under Total War Contingency Protocol. Mara closed her eyes briefly. Not in shock, but in recognition. Earth had waited. They wouldn't wait longer. We'll face political isolation, she said. Maybe, Havel agreed. But if we do nothing, we invite more slaughter. This isn't escalation, Commander. This is consequence. Reyes spoke next, his voice even. We've got 3 systems to neutralize Varick resupply. I want drone swarms prepped for surgical disruption. We disable them, not annihilate them. Not yet. That's how we win, Mara said. Not by rage, but by design. The conversion began. In the fabrication bays, medics cleared triage lanes between newly installed automated drone racks. Supply ships were emptied, refitted with signal repeaters and sensor cloaks. Ship AI cores were upgraded to deploy adaptive targeting modules. Across the fleet, repair crews replaced bulk cargo with precision munitions, because humanity wasn't planning a war of destruction. They were planning a war of removal. Not extinction. Erasure of capability. Reyes passed Mara on the lower deck, helmet under his arm. You write the ultimatum yet? Drafting it now, she replied. He paused. Include this. We'll honor every rule we swore to, until the second they become a grave. That night, the second broadcast arrived. Unprompted. From the Varick Dominion. It wasn't a denial. It was a performance. 7 human prisoners. Filmed from a high, steady angle. No sound, only Varick script overlaid at the bottom. Weakness deserves no legacy. One by one, the soldiers were shot. The camera did not flinch. Neither did the shooters. There was no shouting. Just process. It lasted 40 seconds. The final frame froze on a single kneeling man, head bowed, shadows flickering across his shoulders. The feed ended. Across Atlas Spear, no one wept. They simply moved. In her quarters, Mara watched it again, twice. Once for analysis. Once because she owed it to them. Then she opened her final draft. Transmission, classified, ready for release. From Commander Mara Vance. To Concorde Oversight, EarthGov Council, Varick Dominion Leadership. Subject, War Crimes Notification, Final Ultimatum. The Varick Dominion has violated Accord Article 7, Protections for Prisoners of War. Deliberate execution of detainees outside active combat has been confirmed through multiple sources including live witness testimony, video documentation, black box satellite pings, and forensic scene reconstruction. Under Concorde protocols, humanity has exhausted every diplomatic and procedural avenue for redress. As of 0600 UTC, unless a tribunal is formally convened and Legate Con Rex Talvor remanded for war crimes investigation, the Human Defense Fleet will initiate contingency operations. These operations will not target civilian populations. These operations will not breach interspecies accords. These operations will eliminate the military capacity of any power that enables or shelters those who execute surrendering prisoners. This is not vengeance. This is boundary. Sign, Commander Mara Vance. Fleet Intelligence and Legal Liaison. Human Defense Fleet, Atlas Spear. As she sent the message, Mara glanced out her viewport. A maintenance crew was stenciling a new designation onto a drone carrier. Not a name. Just 7 numbers. The fleet remembered. And the galaxy would learn. The fleet didn't roar when it moved. It didn't howl or scream. It simply deployed, swift, exact, and without ceremony. Across 3 systems, human defense vessels unfolded like the wings of a machine designed for a singular purpose: the eradication of war-making capability. Not planets. Not people. Not flags. Function. The operation had a name now. Cinderlight. Deploy decoy clouds? Admiral Hovell ordered, voice steady on the command deck of Atlas Spear. All drones engage disruptor pattern Gamma. The vacuum lit up with silent brilliance. Thousands of drones scattered across space like a silver net, decoys mimicking attack formations, bleeding radiation spikes and false engine trails. Varick defense platforms scrambled to adjust. By the time they realized none of the drones were real threats, the real strike wings had already slipped beneath their arcs, cloaked in distortion fields. Inside the drone ops bay, Mara watched live telemetry tick down as kinetic rails shredded comm towers and shipyard uplinks. Not one civilian channel was jammed. Not a single orbital was targeted. This wasn't war for territory. It was subtraction. In a sealed chamber, Colonel Reyes watched the target list update. Fuel depots gone. Ammunition relays offline. AI-guided strike packages roamed ahead like wolves with perfect maps. His voice crackled through the bridge. We're not here to punish. We're here to paralyze. Across Varick space, war machines froze in place. Their eyes went dark. Their claws stopped moving. Then came the hard part. The hostages. In a dead corridor near neutral space, on a hollowed-out trade anchor called Sable's Grip, the Varick held 73 civilians, mostly transport workers and minor diplomatic staff. A warning. A dare. Advance team in position, reported Marine Juno. Thermal shows 5 Varick guards. Minimal response time. Mara's face was hard. Any signs of harm? They're unharmed. For now. Proceed. Quiet entry. Confirm ID tags. Non-lethal unless forced. The breach happened fast. No loud detonations. No drama. Just one silent override of the corridor hatch, 2 stun bursts, and boots over metal. The guards didn't have time to raise weapons. They were disarmed, restrained, and left breathing. The hostages blinked against sudden light, confused. A diplomat in torn robes stepped forward. You're human? Reyes, armor covered in carbon scoring, nodded once. You're safe. Let's go. The civilians weren't crying. They were too stunned. Mara arrived last, walking into the room like a knife sheathed in protocol. Varick will say we broke rules. So we bring every hostage back. Alive. Documented. A medic scanned a child with a fractured arm. Mara knelt beside him. You'll be okay, she said softly. The boy looked up. They said humans wouldn't come. Mara stood slowly. Then they didn't know who we are. The next move had to be clean. Legate Khan Rex was already on the move, transferring between command ships, assuming his name would shield him. The Concorde hadn't touched him. So Mara set a trap. A false communique was seeded into Concorde diplomatic channels. A tribunal vessel, Concorde authorized, was en route to Atlas Spear, carrying full authority to arrest any fleet commander exceeding bounds of law. She knew Rex would want that moment. A human publicly detained would be the Dominion's proof of human instability. He took the bait. At the edge of a cold asteroid field, his personal cruiser arrived to intercept what he thought was a legal prize. Instead, the vessel was a sensor ghost, shielded by cloaked human interceptors. By the time Rex's ship scanned the deception, it was too late. His engines locked. His comms jammed. Human Marines breached through a hull seam and walked straight into his command chamber. He was waiting, arms folded. I knew you'd come, he said. The prey always returns when the illusion of righteousness breaks. Reyes stepped forward, rifle lowered but unsympathetic. You're not prey. You're a liability. We gave your prisoners purpose, Rex said. A final role. A clean end. You humans decorate death with sentiment. It weakens you. Mara entered behind the team, flanked by 2 officers carrying sealed evidence packets. She didn't argue with him. She simply held out a datapad. War Crimes Dossier. Confirmed chain of command. Recorded order of execution. Witness testimony. Footage. And if I don't accept it? Then the Concorde will. He smiled coldly. They won't touch me. They don't have to, she said. We already have you. Aboard Atlas Spear, Rex was placed in secured detainment under full biometric observation. The evidence package was broadcast to all Concorde systems, time-stamped, cross-verified, and possible to dismiss. The Concorde responded within an hour. Their statement was clinical. Due to the preponderance of evidence and the nature of the violations committed, the Concorde authorizes the provisional detainment of Legate Khan Rex Talvor pending tribunal. The Dominion will not retaliate, Mara said aloud, reading the statement. Because they're not ready for what comes next if they do. In the memorial bay, the chain had grown longer. Dog tags clinked in the stillness. Names etched into steel with care, not pageantry. The space wasn't large, but every visitor made it sacred. Emil Park stood quietly, a single polished tag in his hand. He hung it gently, whispering something Mara didn't catch. As he turned, she asked, You good? He shrugged. Better than before. Not done. No, she agreed. Not done. Later, Mara sat at her terminal, drafting the final statement. She wrote it not in legalese, not for the tribunal, but for the record. For the future. For anyone who mistook mercy for softness. Human Fleet Declaration. From Commander Mara Vance. To the Concorde of 9 and all observing powers. Humanity honors the laws it signs. We protect our own. We respect those who surrender. We value rules not because we are weak, but because we know what happens when they break. We are not here to burn systems. We are not here to punish cultures. But if you execute our prisoners, if you call justice a game, if you strip the dignity from those who laid down arms, we will come. We will find you. And we will remove your ability to harm again. This is not a threat. It is a boundary. And now it is known. She hit send. Outside her viewport, the stars remained unchanged. But the silence between them had been redrawn.